they always have the great cold open.
Right.
But, like, this one was levels.
Yeah. I think it followed, for my money, the best action movie of all time. And so the expectations were sky high for this film. And I told you about my movie theater experience. I went in one of those 4D movies where my seat was moving the entire time, and it took away from the experience, and it kind of became the experience.
I watched it on a flight. My mind was blown because everything I'd heard was, it's not quite as good as not Fallout. And I'm like, and it didn't have a signature moment and all these things I was hearing from everybody.
Its signature moment was actually done already in the series with the trains.
Signature moment is him driving a motorcycle off a goddamn cliff.
Yeah, but Mike is saying that the last one was the best one, and he has a hard time getting excited.
Last one should have been nominated for an Oscar.
I'm gonna tell you, I watched Fallout. I remember watching Fallout, and I was like, this is cool. I watched this movie, and I was literally like, I need to tell people. That's how moved I was by how good this
weakest villain too.
Yeah, like he's not a strong villain.
Well, it's just a villain. Well,
or the villain's
he's a secondary villain because the main villain is artificial intelligence,
which is so timely.
Yeah,
so timely.
Did you see Biden's quotes? He's like, "Wow, I saw that movie, and we worry about this now."
Yeah, man.
I mean, it's actually bringing about change. Thank you, Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise saved the movie industry and then turned around and saved humanity with a movie.
Did you watch the Fallout on a plane too? Do
No,
you think you had plane bias?
No, because I could only watch half of Dead Reckoning, so I had to watch the rest at home, and it was amazing.
Can you explain plane bias, though? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, they've done studies, I think, could be making this up, that you cry more on a plane or you get more emotional on a plane watching movies. Has anybody else?
No, I've heard that.
Yeah, and it's true. Like
it's something to do with the oxygen levels and pressure.
So
I've ugly cried on planes in ways that are embarrassing at movies.
Typically for me, I'd fall asleep on planes during watching movies. So the fact that this thing had me wrapped, and by the way, I had one of those lay flat seats for this flight, so it was like,
look at me, Louis.
The meal was forgettable. The movie was not. I was up in my seat. I never reclined.
You were at the edge of your seat on a plane.
On a plane, dude. It was.
No, he's magical. He's the greatest movie star of our lifetimes.
I'm coming around on
He just makes perfect movies.
I remember you used to say that, and I'm like, all right, I get it. Like, they're fun, but relax, Mike. And now I'm like, no, this guy saved Hollywood.
He delivers every time.
He delivers every time.
What do you mean almost every time? He delivers
every
time.
There's a couple misfires.
When's the last misfire? When's the last one?
That whole Scientology
Night
thing.
and Day was like...
That was great. I enjoyed that movie.
Night and Day was great.
That was great. Yeah, I loved that movie.
Yeah.
You just said it missed.
I didn't say
no.
Explain
yourself. I'm giving an example. Do you believe that Night and Day was a miss?
I mean, it was panned critically.
Really coward.
But
I'm not coward. I like the movie.
Like Edge of Tomorrow. What a great movie!
That was good. I almost jumped down your throat.
Edge of Tomorrow.
So I'm gonna. I know what it is. It's The Mummy.
Yeah,
that one was bad, but that wasn't his.
Although not as bad as the other Mummy movies. I know that's sacrilege. I enjoyed The Mummy because they just they made The Mummy a Tom Cruise movie.
No.
Yeah, no, I didn't mind it. I just rewatched it. It's not that terrible.
It is that terrible. Number one.
Yeah,
Number
Russell
two.
Crowe doing the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing.
We didn't need. And
they were trying to set up a whole epic universe.
They were trying to do their MCU of like all these
old Universal monsters.
And
the Mummy ends up. Spoiler alert: Tom Cruise was supposed to be the Mummy. I guess the Iron Man of this monster Avengers.
By the way, this might be my favorite thing on the Wikipedia page for Tom Cruise filmography. It says obviously all the movies he's made. The last two are 2023 Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, and then 2025 untitled 8th Mission Impossible film. I'm pretty sure it's called Dead Reckoning Part 2. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
But there are no mistakes there. There are.
No, okay, so I'm going backwards. So Dead Reckoning,
right?
Top Gun Maverick, Fallout, American Made, which is an excellent movie.
I love that movie.
It's excellent.
It didn't do much in the box office.
No, but it was an excellent movie.
Did you like it, Mike?
I enjoyed it, yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, he stretched his range.
The Mummy.
That's the miss.
All right. Jack Reacher, Never Go Back. I didn't see the second Jack Reacher. I saw the first one.
First one was good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation, also good. Edge of Tomorrow, banger. Oblivion.
That's a misfire.
Big budget, but not as bad as people made it out to see.
That's the misfire.
Jack Reacher, the first one, banger. Rock of Ages, never watched that one.
He was good. The movie was crap.
Ghost Protocol, banger.
Amazing.
Great.
Night and Day, banger.
Great.
Valkyrie, dare I say, Oscar bait banger.
Yes,
he should have won an Oscar.
That one was a little weak, but you did have the prop ass.
Yes.
He had the prop ass. Which
Valkyrie was
reigns eternal.
not weak, sir.
Yeah, but the movie before Valkyrie,
Tropic Thunder.
the greatest.
What a cameo. I mean, was that a cameo even? He
No,
was
it was a scene stealer.
scene stealer. Lions for Lambs. I watched it. I don't
see it.
remember it. MI3.
Oh, that's the one that really started the run.
Oh, so the one that started, I would say, is Collateral. Collateral.
No, I mean for the Mission Impossible franchise. It breathed
It
life
brought it back.
because 2 was very of its time, John Woo. If you look back, 2 sticks out like a sore thumb, mainly because it's the only movie where Ethan Hunt is not disavowed.
Which was the first face-changing one? Because it wasn't 1.
No, it was
Vanilla Sky?
No. The first Mission Impossible where they changed
It was
the
3,
face.
right?
It was
Because that one really...
Well, Mission Impossible.
that
was a
one.
device in the first one
Yeah.
because it was a staple
Really?
of the TV series. You know that it was inspired by a TV series,
No.
right? You didn't know that?
No, it wasn't.
Really?
You didn't know that?
No, the
Yes,
show
it
was
was.
inspired by
I
the
love
movie.
Billy, man.
Mission
Oh, okay.
Impossible?
What?
What?
Can you guys
Welcome
watch
to Cinephone.
movies about planes on planes? Because I can't.
I don't like to.
You know, sometimes I look up plane crashes while I'm on a plane.
You're a
Oh,
psychopath.
I did see
What?
this trailer that a plane crashes into the ocean, but there's an air pocket, and there's survivors on this plane that's deep at the bottom of the ocean, and a shark torments them.
Wait, is this Jaws: The Revenge?
It's like no, it's like sharks on a plane,
Oh.
but it's actually not as campy as you would think
Here's
from
the
the
thing.
trailer.
We
It's
s-
like a serious look.
From the trailer.
We did a whole thing this year on the submersible and underwater pressure. How are we supposed to believe that?
Air pocket.
Hold on. Wait a minute. We're just normalizing the fact that you look up plane crashes on planes. Like, that is the most abuse of white privilege I've ever heard in my entire life.
No, yeah, I can't do that,
Like,
Charlotte.
anyone
I could never do
is
that.
looking for reasons to profile anyone, and you're just like, let me see how far I can push this.
I try not to think about them. Like, what are you doing?
Oh well, no, because if it happened once, and I was on a plane, and I was thinking of planes, and I was like,
That's crazy.
all right, well, I eat snow.
What?
Quite the dismount from Charlotte Wilder.
Flying feels like the most dangerous of games right now. Like
Yeah.
a crapshoot.
No, what? Because of that Alaska
Boeing.
Airways?
Yeah.
No.
No, they did. They went and like looked at all like the manufacturers and a lot of the planes, and they were like, "Yeah, so many of these have loose bolts. Like a
Yes.
ton of them do."
Loose Bolts, a new segment starring Lucy.
Ooh,
Oh, hey.
You go on different planes and you say, like, how are these bolts doing?
After those 2 like plane incidents where there was the one that the door flew off or whatever, and then there was the one here where it was a cargo plane that was just flying while it was on fire.
Oh, I didn't see the second one.
And people here were like freaking out and was like, wow, this is so dangerous. And Mike Fuentes made a rare good point where he's walking down the hall. He goes, honestly, I feel like it's safer than ever because back in the day, if a door flew off or your plane was on fire, you would crash and die. And here they're just still flying in the air, perfectly normal.
Dude, nobody got sucked out of that door.
Nobody.
I was staggered.
but no one was sitting there. I feel like if someone was sitting there,
But the seats were still there, though. The seats weren't.
yeah, the seats were
Nothing
still
got
there.
sucked
if
out.
you-
No, the shirt.
The shirt and a phone, and the phone was fine, right?
The phone was fine.
Yes,
What?
it was still working when they found it.
the
Yes.
phone. How do you find
Someone's backyard.
Yeah.
No
Yes.
way.
Yo.
Yes. Yeah.
Whoever, you know what? The manufacturer of the phone case needs to track. Like, that was us. Otterbox
$10
or whatever.
Otter, yeah.
Otterbox. Look, it's the size of a Buick, but your phone will survive a plane crash.
Do you learn anything in these videos that you watch on the planes of planes crashing? Or?
Oh, it's not videos; it's Wikipedia pages.
Oh, it's
like
so you're just reading up on
like
them.
you're doing research.
Yes.
You're reading
I'll
up.
be on a plane, be like, "What happened to the Malaysia Airlines plane?" And
In a
then,
weird
but
way-
in my defense,
disappeared.
as I was doing this, happened one time. As I was doing this, I was like, "This is an insane thing to do,"
Right.
and I stopped doing it. But I did it for long enough to be like, "I'm a psychopath."
Were you flying with anyone you knew, or
No.
like so strangers were next to you and just could like peek over and
Well,
see what
that's
was
their
going
fault
on?
for being nosy.
Wait, but in a weird way where you're saying to yourself, there's no way this plane is going to crash while I'm looking up other crash footage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it wasn't footage. Again, Wikipedia. Also, I get very I used to get very nervous about turbulence. So then I watched a bunch of videos of pilots talking about how I shouldn't be scared of turbulence. And now, the more I know, the safer.
Do you want to know the number one trick to know that everything's going to be fine, other than amino acids on the flight, because I'm not going to die in a plane crash? Yeah. The number one trick is if the flight attendants are cool, that means it's normal. If they're freaking out, that's your cue to freak out.
Yeah.
Because they will freak out. It happens.
We're just stating as a fact that you're not going to die in a plane crash?
Yeah. Well,
he's dying in a car.
Yeah, this is canon.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Billy, sorry.
He's dying in a car, so if amino acid's on a plane, you know
you're fine.
This is not how he's going.
We're fine. We're good.
I've been in the car with Amin, though. So terrifying.
Well, I mean, like, because on a plane, like, sometimes you get some bad turbulence, and the person next to me is like, oh, and I'm like, don't worry.
I'm here.
I'm here. We're going to be fine. Trust me on this one. And I find it makes them relax. They're like, oh, yeah. They don't know the reasoning behind we're going to be fine. They just know that my calm voice soothes them.
Sometimes you just want to be told we're going to be fine.
Could be okay.
Right.
But I say it with the knowledge that we're really going to be okay.
Do you guys survey, like, the entire flight to see who's on the flight? Like, I feel good if a celebrity's on the flight. Also, if there's a lot of babies.
No. Quite the opposite.
God wouldn't do that.
First of all, God.
Oh, wow. To celebrities or babies?
The babies.
Look.
Or me.
I don't know if I want to walk down this path.
No, don't do it, man.
Okay. But for celebrities, I fear that. I used to fear that before I knew I was going to die. Because there was one time I was on a plane and it was like with me and it was Michelle Beadle and Grant Hill. We're all on the same flight. And Beadle leans over. Beadle doesn't like to fly. So she's like, she will medicate and knock out. But before she knocks out, she leans over and says, just know that if it goes down, no one's going to remember you were on this flight. Good old Michelle Beadle.
Always there.
That's a friend in need.
In perspective.
If that plane went down, though, it'd be like known as the day basketball analysis died.
Oh, my God, yeah. I mean, we were fine.
The day basketball studio shows died.
Yeah. It would have been a huge shake to the industry. They lost Amino Hassan, who promised us he would never die like this.
I think this is my worst day ever. My worst day ever on air, I think.
Nah, don't be hard on yourself. You've been
you
way
could do
worse.
This year. You could do worse, Dan. You could do worse.
This year, wow.
There are many times that I have been embarrassed, but I'm having a rough go of it. Lucy, can you please explain to me? I saw, and I've been wanting to talk to you about this for weeks. I think you are a sweet and decent person who is just trying to get along with everybody, and you, except for Emily. And you have your occasional snark, but when I saw you, as an emotional person who weeps at college football games, when I saw you react on social media to death in Iowa, horror in Iowa, and then a whole lot of people came at you for being too woke about guns, I was a bit heartbroken because I didn't feel like you had taken any sort of controversial stance other than, oh my God, we need to not have a bunch of dead people in Iowa, and yet people came after you as if it were a political position.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that happened. So for those of you who don't know, I believe it was the first week of January, there was a school shooting in Iowa. 3 people passed away, including the gunman. And Iowa's governor, Kim Reynolds, she's my least favorite Kim. And you guys know how I feel about Kim Mulkey. Yeah, that's how much I hate Kim Reynolds. She came out and was like, thoughts and prayers. And I was like, hey, girlfriend, your thoughts and prayers are worthless because she has enacted so many policies during her time as governor at Iowa, cutting funding to public schools, loosening gun laws, closing mental health facilities. Like, I was like, your policies did this. And Iowans lost their freaking mind, and they were so angry with me. And they were like, Lucy, we're not going to follow you anymore. We don't respect you anymore. And I was like, good. I don't want you to. And that's pretty much how that went down.
Well, but no, let me go back for a second because I really didn't understand what I was witnessing. I was confused by it because you are among the most likable people we've ever had around here, and you're not trying to stir controversy. All you're doing is reacting to the horror of school children being dead. That's all you're doing, which we should all react to sort of the same way no matter what our politics are. And you got turned into a political symbol on it in a way on social media that is now going further and further far right on social media, run by people who are encouraging that. And it felt like, oh, this is how everyone loses. Lucy is just showing compassion because they're dead children. And she's the one getting attacked for taking a political viewpoint that is what? Anti-dead children?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of this stuff is political. Obviously, like, school shootings are terrible. We shouldn't want school shootings to happen. But when Iowa's governor, Kim Reynolds, puts these policies in place that enable this stuff to happen, it becomes political. And, you know, I'm lucky to have like a following in Iowa and a platform there. So it felt like that's what I had to do. I was never just going to sit silently as kids are getting murdered in the state that's so important to me. And I hope that, you know, if one person saw that tweet and was like, you know what, maybe Kim Reynolds' policies aren't what I'm here for, then that's great to me. But yeah, it didn't feel like that big of a deal to me because I feel like that's kind of what I should have done in that situation. And if people are mad at me for that, okay, whatever.
Have I aged out by being confused by that? Or am I naive about the places that the world and the country is when, okay, so it's just naivete.
You're naive. You are an and it's one of your more endearing qualities that sometimes you are surprised by the cruelty of the world. Like, what? They do that? No, yeah.
But I thought we were all in unison. I thought this was the easiest one. Yeah, dead children in a school. No. Like that one's super easy to agree on. None of us want that.
So I learned this fact the other day, right? Wyoming has an incredibly high suicide rate. Like ridiculous per capita suicide rate. And most of it is by gun. Like people shoot themselves. On purpose, right? They're committing suicide on not accidents, right? And the people in legislature in Wyoming tried to get like gun control. Well, look, this is crazy. We're losing people at an alarming rate, and the gun lobby is so strong there that they literally had to change the messaging to mental health. They literally just gave up on trying to make this a gun control conversation and just said, well, can we get these people some mental health help?
Yeah, that was like one of the most popular responses I got to my tweet about Kim Reynolds. It was like, this is a mental health crisis. Well, guess what? She's closed half the facilities in the state. So it was one of these things where you're like, you don't even know what you're arguing here because even the thing you think is the problem, she won't address.
We talk about you being naive. It's a bit of a weakness where you try to find the best in people when clearly there are evil people out there. Just clearly. And that's a bit of a problem that you have.
But I'm just talking about, we've introduced Lucy to the audience. The audience seems to love Lucy. Lucy's not courting conflict. Like, she's willing to fight for things, but all she's doing is being horrified on behalf of her region. How can any of us be good with dead school children? And to me, it's the most obvious of takes. Like, I don't think anyone listening to this right now or anyone outside of this echo chamber would argue with, we shouldn't be the only country in the world that consistently can't protect its most vulnerable and slaughters children in schools. Like, I think all of us would agree on whatever your politics are, that can't be. And so why shouldn't I be confused by that?
Well, you're confused because what Lucy is eloquently saying is the reason we're having these things is because of XYZ policies that the governor has enacted, and that's where the divergence happens, because people will say, yes, dead school children are bad. That's why they all say thoughts and prayers, because that's the thing that we can agree on, is to say, oh, it's so terrible that this happened.
But I thought the thing we could agree on is kids shouldn't be slaughtered in schools. Yes, I thought that was easier to agree on than thoughts and prayers.
They do agree on that. But when you say the reason why they're being slaughtered in schools is because the easily accessibility of firearms and because of lack of support for mental health for people, two things that the governor is very responsible for. And when you start to go against their team, right? That's my governor you're talking about. Then it doesn't matter, right?
But how can you care more about? How can you care more about guns? And how can you care more about policies and politics than slaughtered children?
They've convinced themselves that this isn't the reason why the children are getting slaughtered. That's what it comes down to. They've convinced themselves that this thing that is clearly, like you said, the data and the evidence is so blatant.
But you care more about winning the argument about mental illness or guns than you do about slaughtered children.
I think most people would not say it in that way, but yes, that's what they think.
I think that in 2012, when the Newtown shooting happened, and an elementary school and children were dead, and people were like, well, surely this will be the thing that will snap the politicians who take so much money from the gun lobbies out of their delusion or this evil bubble that they've got themselves caught in. And then it wasn't. And it's 2024, and nothing has changed significantly with those gun laws. It became politicized in a way that it was like, it's not about guns or the fact that guns kill people. It was that, like, the liberals want to take our guns away. They want to take our freedom. They want to take what is ours, instead of thinking through, like, wait, why do I need these? It got co-opted by people in bad faith to such a degree that people see that as a trigger issue. They're like, oh, guns? Well, no, we need to keep ours. And it's what Amin was saying about their team versus the other team.
And it's very organized, right? It comes from, the reason why is because the gun lobbies, the NRA, the firearm manufacturers, like, hey, we don't want anything that's going to be bad for business, right? So now we have to concoct the party line, the speaking points that is going to be disseminated to our base. Hey, when they say, look, these guns killed a bunch of kids in school, this is what you come back with. You come back with these points, and then that's all they're regurgitating over and over again without having any logic behind it. This is when I knew we were screwed. It wasn't that when Newtown happened and nothing really changed. It's when people were like, maybe it was a hoax, and it didn't actually happen. When they would rather deny it even happening, and come up with like, oh, this person hasn't been into school in 20 or whatever, rather than just accept, oh, man, this thing that I've been rooting for, maybe not the best thing in the world.
So Amin and Roy look at me and correctly identify me as naive on this, but I think I'd prefer almost to stay naive than to never be confused by Lucy saying, don't slaughter children. Everyone's now attacking Lucy? Like, I don't want that normalized.
It's too late.
I
you
guess,
don't want it normalized.
We don't want school shootings to be normalized.
Look
at us now.
Okay, but if you take this argument to its logical conclusion, then my viewpoint of wishing for something a little bit purer than that, like all of this and all of us are doomed.
Dan.
You're telling me we're already doomed if slaughtered children doesn't make you want to do anything other than win an argument by being mean to Lucy.
Dan, I have a 7th grader and I have twin 5th graders, right? They have active shooter drills. Like, remember how we had fire drills in school? Like, okay, there's a fire, line up, everyone. They have active shooter drills. And the craziest thing is, they don't seem to think anything weird about that. Like, oh, yeah, we had an active shooter drill today. And I'm like, what? That blew my mind. Not that they were doing it, that my kids felt that it was so matter of fact. It's too late to be, quote unquote, like, I don't want to get desensitized. It's too late for all that.
My freshman year at college, there was the threat of a shooter at the dining hall we were eating at. There ended up not being a shooter, thank God, but me and my friends were just eating dinner in the dining hall. We see all this SWAT come in, and they start banging on the glass with machine guns saying, get out of here, there's a shooter. We had to sprint. We had to run for our lives, and the next day, we went to class, and there was nothing from that. It was like the most alarmingly normal thing in the whole world. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, people who we were eating dinner with went out to the bars that night. It was just unbelievably insane.
My family members that don't live here, like, they call me and they're concerned. Like, are you okay? Are you safe? Because they think, like, this is just Wild West.
But I would ask Roy and Billy and Mike, as new parents, if they ever thought they'd see this day where children coming home from school is something that you have more fear about than you have ever had.
Well, the first message of we've completed a gun training drill at my daughter's school was, it really hit home for me. Absolutely hit home for me. And like, oh God, she's gonna have to get used to this now.
Mike, Billy,
I'm not surprised by it because the last 15 years have shown me this is the reality.
So you knew when you were bringing a child into the world that there would be these classes.
Yeah, post Newtown and nothing getting corrected. Post Vegas mass shooting, nothing getting corrected.
Columbine, really.
Well, I mean, you would think when it happened, that might be a bit of an outlier, and you've had several dozens since. So, no, I sadly resigned myself to that fact. Go out and vote in November.
Let's make it a little lighter. Next segment.
I like Brock Purdy. I know the online discourse around him is not everybody's favorite. And the last time I attempted to do this segment, like 2 weeks later, he had one of the worst Monday night performances of all time.
After you said he's a legitimate MVP, he's good, we all need to address the fact that Brock Purdy is good, great, hard stop.
Right. He went from an overwhelming – in the weeks that followed, he became the overwhelming favorite to win MVP to losing it with one abysmal Monday night performance. But I want to talk about Brock Purdy in that the San Francisco 49ers are once again in the NFC Championship game. Different quarterback leading the way. Brock Purdy came in as a replacement last year and got hurt during the NFC Championship game. Lions at Niners. Lions. America's on their side. Gritty underdog. And I find it funny. I find it really funny that the team with a quarterback picked number one overall is universally acknowledged as the underdog against the team with a 6'1" quarterback that was picked last in the NFL draft. I know Brock Purdy is held to an insane standard because of how loaded that team is around him, and he may even be a byproduct of how loaded that team is around him. Brock Purdy played at Iowa State for what felt like 20 years. He is 6'1" listed. You watch him, he doesn't look that way. He was the last pick in the NFL draft. Let us not normalize this weird narrative around this game where he is the favorite and Jared Goff, who's been to a Super Bowl with another team and was a number one overall pick, is the scrappy underdog.
Are you trying to jinx Brock? Do you have money on the Lions?
I root for Kyle Shanahan. I root for Brock Purdy. I think it's an unbelievable story. I think we have all skewed the way that we view quarterbacks because of how greats like Brady play the position, because of how Aaron Rodgers played the position, because how Patrick Mahomes stepped into the league and lit it ablaze, because of what Lamar Jackson is doing right now. If you look back at the trajectories of Hall of Fame careers, Brock Purdy's start, especially when you apply the context of him being a 7th-round pick, is a perfectly fine start. It's a really good something to build on.
Mike,
he had a disastrous Monday night performance.
It's a great start, not perfectly fine. Brock Purdy's start has been great. He'll have to play better this week than he did last week if they want to beat the Lions. But really what we're doing with the Lions is the organization is the underdog. It's not so much Jared Goff, Brock Purdy. That organization is the lovable underdog.
I understand. If you look at all pros, Niners have a few more all pros, first and second teamers than Detroit. But Detroit's a damn good team, led by a quarterback that, despite naysayers out there, has proven he can get to that game before.
No, Brock Purdy, I watched a ton of him in college. He was not like this at Iowa State. It was kind of like that Ravens game where you were like, brother, the turnovers that man had was absolutely insane. I think that's kind of where people come in with like the sort of like anyone could sort of fit into Brock Purdy's role at the 49ers just because it's such a good system. But genuinely, what Brock Purdy's done has been incredibly impressive. He was not like this at Iowa State. He never beat Iowa. Not one
Lucy,
time.
Lucy,
What?
Not once.
You hold that shit over his head.
The Lions drafted all Iowa guys this year, so I don't know what that means.
Lucy, thank
I don't
you.
know what that means, Dan.
Lucy, this is what it means. What it means is I want you to be the nation's preeminent Iowa correspondent. I want Mike to immediately produce for me imaging that allows us to celebrate Lucy's story of the day from Iowa or Iowa sports, because this is an underserved market in sports. Iowa sports expertise. Mike, give me some imaging.
Lucy Rodine, Iowa correspondent.
I see you worked very hard on that. Thank you.
That was great.
Chris Cody was work from home.
Awesome.
You didn't give him much time. He said we wanted immediately.
It could have been better than that.
He gave you the
loved
basics,
it.
though. I mean.
Yeah, so give me an Iowa story.
Could you tell that was Chris Cody?
I could not. Was it Chris Cody in his broad? Let me hear that again. Broadcaster voice?
Lucy Rodine, Iowa correspondent.
He dug deep.
I think it's
Sounded
great.
like,
You know what?
sounded like his fake Joe Tess.
It sounded.
Lucy Rodine, Iowa correspondent.
That's his Joe Tessitore.
It sounds like he did it over Skype.
He pitched his voice down, right? Or is that just...
No,
Baker Mayfield.
Billy, did you know that was Chris Cody? Is that well produced? Do you like his broadcaster voice?
I think it works.
One more time.
Lucy Rodine, Iowa correspondent.
It is pretty good. He's got like
Very good,
he's got
yes.
like a movie trailer voice that I did not know that he had.
No.
Lucy, give me an Iowa story of your choosing.
Well, normally I'd talk about Caitlin Clark because I always want to talk about Caitlin Clark, but this is actually kind of important for the overall sort of state of college football. So over the summer, Iowa and Iowa State got hit hard with penalties for their student athletes gambling. It's since come out in this investigation that information was obtained illegally. None of it was with a warrant. So basically, like, an Iowa State agent went rogue, started tracking these dorms like without permission, and then used that information to catch these athletes in the act. So I don't know what that means for the players who were suspended. There's a lot of players who still, aren't going to play for another year or so. Things are getting weird. Things are getting weird with the Iowa gambling situation. I feel like that was a pretty good update.
That was pretty good.
Thank you.
And my main takeaway is that's a shame that this evidence was found through illegal means, but also, is that the only way to find this? Because that was pretty overt. Like, they were on apps. We're not going to find out if teams are betting, if players are betting on games unless we do illegal searches. Because I think the original story around this, the reaction is, how dumb can you be? There's one rule, follow it.
A lot of the players were doing it under their parents' name or their girlfriend's name, so they felt like they could get away with it. But the way this information was found is this state agent without a warrant put tracked betting activity in certain University of Iowa dorms, used that information to get permission to tap into if people were betting in the athletic facilities, and that's how they found it out, and that is illegal.
So my question is, do you have to put the information you obtained illegally back in the box and be like, just kidding, and then everyone's like, okay, go enjoy football?
Well, that's not how it happened. It wasn't put in the box back illegally. It was just sort of we crushed Iowa. We crushed all the gamblers for their immoralities when the way they were caught was immoral and illegal.
Right, but that's what I mean. Does the charges go away?
Yeah.
Is it oops,
Fruit of the poisonous tree. You watch Law and Order?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Real easy.
all things acquired through illegal means are not admissible.
But how do you get them?
But it's also but
legally.
it happened.
Well,
Legally. What do you mean?
tricky.
What do you mean? You get all evidence legally. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Sometimes, Dan, listen, the law is a tricky game, and sometimes you have to be willing to stoop to the levels of the criminals to bust the criminal. I'm telling you.
But that doesn't
Stugotz,
work.
that's
It gets
a very-
thrown out of court.
Yeah, that's a very Jack McCoy approach, buddy. Look,
Stugotz is put it on the
We're
poll.
gonna get this barred.
Put it on the poll. Are you surprised at all that Stugotz is pro illegal searches?
Look, I know that they obtained this evidence illegally, but just taking that out of the picture, you should never be punished for betting the Iowa under. Whether you're a fan, whether you're on the team, you should be allowed to do it. This is America, and that's how we make money.
It should be a political platform. I'm going to reverse the national debt by betting Iowa under.
I'm with you, Lucy. You are pro-freedom. We should all be allowed to make money through capitalism, however it is that we arrive at the Iowa under.
how is Vegas still getting this wrong? Shouldn't the Iowa over-under be 1 at this point?
It's gotten very
It's-
low.
no,
It's the
it's
lowest
been
it's
close.
ever been. It's been they have 28 points, 29 points, unders we've never totals we've never seen before.
But it's been really close to hitting. Iowa, their bowl game, the over-under was 35.5. They lost 35-0, so it's still technically hit. Nebraska, Iowa, I think was one of the lowest over-unders ever, and at halftime it was 10-7. We were like, man, the over's going to hit. I think that was the final score.
Why is there a motorcycle?
Is there?
Oh, it's coming.
Where's the motorcycle?
You'll hear it revving soon.
Where?
We will listen to this for 10 minutes before you hear what's.
Is that a cash machine?
What was that?
You think
He's
that's
going
a
to keep this
motorcycle?
going for 10 minutes.
It sounds like a
Sounds
cash
like
counter.
rattlesnake.
I think it's cash because they already had change
Is that a
sounds in
roulette
there.
wheel?
No, that's a cash counter,
Sure?
like in Scarface, right? In the beginning of the Push It to the Limit montage, you see the money counting.
I don't hear.
Nothing that sounds remotely
Where's
like
the
a motorcycle.
At the end,
Stugotz?
I think.
All right, at the end.
At
Sounds
the
like a
end, it's a
rattlesnake.
looping bed.
How much more time?
All right, we'll just sit here waiting for it. Let's
3.5 more
all right,
minutes.
Let's see if we hear the motorcycle that Stugotz hears because
You'll hear it.
his brain is drug-addled.
What?
You're not going to hear it. There is none.
Give it time.
I like that little keyboard. That's my favorite part. Oh, a little coin on the table.
What is that?
Bye-bye.
What was that? Wait a minute! Wait That was one.
That was a car, though. That was a car.
Wait, he was totally right. How? Wait a minute.
Stugotz was right. Holy, Stugotz was right.
I did not hear that the first time.
And it must have looped at least 4
Hold on,
times.
let me hear it
And we just
again.
missed
I don't
it.
think that. It's there again. There it is.
It's peeling off.
How is he the only one?
Oh, the Kumite cat.
How was he the only one who heard that?
The drugs.
That's
You mock
why,
what you
that's
don't
why
understand.
you love the dead so much. You hear things others have not heard, and it's the drugs.
Yep. That's why I take them, Dana.
Mike,
So are we rooting for the former #1 overall draft pick, California guy that's already been to the Super Bowl, or the scrappy, undersized Mr. Irrelevant?
I'm rooting for Jared Goff. I don't know what your obsession is with Kyle Shanahan. I kind of think he's a bit overrated.
You just you have Chris Sims on your podcast
Yeah, I know.
every week,
But
and
I
he
tell
has
Sims
KS
that.
tattooed on his leg.
I know, and I tell Sims, like, hey, how about Shanahan do some winning? You know, like,
He needs to.
I know he does.
Yeah, you're right. You're right there.
So I like the idea of the genius being beaten by Dan
yeah,
Campbell.
but Stugotz, what he's saying is, how about Shanahan, you stop being overrated and show me something. Beat the #1 overall pick with a guy who was drafted last. Won't show me anything unless you do. Like, the standard's ridiculous.
No,
it's
then-
asinine.
And then when you do that, do it again in the Super Bowl.
do it again against Lamar Jackson. And when Lamar Jackson loses, I'm going to crush Lamar Jackson for
Whoa.
losing.
Did Dan Le Batard just predict that the Ravens are going to the Super Bowl?
God, I hope so.
Ooh, you hope so?
Dangerous game, man.
Dangerous game.
Oh, if you thought the Super Bowl was a spectacle before, let this Taylor Swift thing hit it.
I mean, the last thing you want to see is Patrick Mahomes strolling into your stadium.
I want to see football upended and Kelsey's and Taylor Swift not getting there because Lamar Jackson got there and everyone being crushed by it.